Hi, Richard.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Josie. Hey, Maylee.
Hi.
Hey, Larissa.
Good
Hey,
evening.
how are you? Sorry, I forgot to turn on my virtual background, my green screen.
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I still can't hear you. Why can't I hear them? Here we go. Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, I have my green screen. I forgot to turn on my virtual background.
Well, this is my virtual background. The office. The office is my virtual background.
It's like there you go. Looks very
I seem to
professional.
be disappearing in my virtual background. Can you see me?
Nope.
No, if you don't
Yeah,
have a if you don't have a green screen or a solid white background, it will happen like that.
Oh, is that what it is? I have my pillows behind me.
hmm
Oh, let me take them down. Let's see. Is it working?
Mm,
No.
no,
No.
we see your shadow, Josie.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
now I see you a little bit.
strange. It's like a silhouette of me. All right, let me take it off. Hello. None.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Josie, I love your hair like that. It's beautiful.
Oh, isn't it something? Yeah, I'm letting it go, my dear. Eventually, it'll be completely salt and pepper.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Hey, Linda.
Linda, how are you?
Hello. Hey, Troy. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Michael.
Hello.
Hey, Kay. Hey, Michael.
Hi, Alicia.
What do you want, Asher? Asher, mommy's gonna be here. What do you want? I know. Come here. Come. Come. Come here.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm doing dishes and multitasking.
Hey, Michael.
Larissa, do you want to make me a co-host?
I will make you a co-host, my dear. Bear with me 1 second.
Hey, Larissa, you may want to pause the recording.
You've
Yes,
got,
thank you.
Larissa, you've got Brian.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our February 2021 full board meeting of Community Board 3. Tonight, we have 3 speakers for our public session that signed up to speak. As a friendly reminder, you know that there's a cutoff at 12 noon on the day of the full board meeting to submit your speaker forms. I will be leading tonight's meeting, and Larissa will give you some ground rules for our Zoom. So Larissa, can you please go over the ground rules?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Community Board 3 full board meeting. The meeting tonight is being recorded. I just wanted to remind you, if you are not a committee member, we welcome you to sign in via the chat with your name and your affiliation for our attendance records. During the course of the meeting, we ask that you please remain muted unless you are speaking to cut down on background noise. If you are joining via the desktop computer, you can unmute yourself by clicking the microphone button in the lower right left-hand corner of your screen. If you're joining by phone, you can use the unmute button on your phone. And you can also use *6 to unmute yourself. If you are experiencing any technical issues during the meeting, please send a message via the chat and one of the Zoom facilitators will reach out to you to assist you with your issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Larissa. Just a reminder, there are a few people that are in the panelist. You guys are going to be moved over really quickly, okay? And for those that did sign up to speak, I already have your speaker form, so no need to worry. If it's in front of me, that means you are signed on to speak. And that being said, we're going to start with our first speaker, which is Laura Sewell. Laura, are you here? You can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Laura
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
And
I just got
just before she speaks, I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 2 minutes, Alicia, and share that.
Sure. Thank you.
Bear with me 1 moment.
I'm actually going to be way less than 2 minutes. So I'll just say, I'm just here to speak about Open Data Week, which is from March 6th through 14th. There's going to be a series of events all over the city around open data that we can use, community members, residents, community board members. So we're doing 2 events. One is East Village Community Coalition is doing an event around engaging with the what'sopenev.com map. And then we're also doing one called 311 Boot Camp, which Susan doesn't have to go to, but other people might find interesting. We're gonna use a participant-driven request to look up various information that's publicly available. And last but not least, we are cooperating with Data Through Design to do a very kid-friendly event on the Avenue B open streets. It's a socially distanced interactive art installation that will happen on March 6th. So you can find all these events at bit.ly/Open Data Week 2021, and I'll drop that in the chat. The registration should be coming up soon. Thanks.
Thank you, Laura. Our next speaker tonight is Mr. Tommy Lowe. Tommy, are you there? You can unmute yourself. Is Tommy there? Tommy? Let me see if I find him here. We'll come back to Tommy if he's not here just yet. Okay, the next speaker is Susan Peters. Susan, are you there? I did see you, so I know you're here.
I'm here now. It wasn't unmuting.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Tommy.
I just wanted to update some of the board members who don't follow ESCR too closely where we are and where the community is. On February 8th, the city accepted only 2 bids were submitted. One bid was 55 million over the engineer's estimate, and the other was 117 million over the engineer's estimate. And you know that we have been fighting to see the value engineering report. And first we were told it didn't exist. Then some of the elected officials told us it didn't exist. And then we foiled it and they told us it didn't exist. And then we appealed and it existed. But now I want to show you what we have gotten. And it's, can you, hold on 1 second. I want to, this is the kind of a report that we have gotten. These are the participants in the value engineering report, all redacted. We have hundreds of pages of redacted material. Here's what it looks like when they talk about advantages and disadvantages of the current plan, all redacted. The community has a right to see these items. One of the most important items the community is going to need to see is the fact that in the report, they did not redact the one sentence that said the fill was going to be hard to source. People should know there's 1 million tons of fill that is needed to complete this project. And they have not yet told us where that fill is coming from. And that is critical to the project. Also, some of the items which they told us, which were the benefit of this project, are already not true. It's a year behind schedule. Lower East Side Ecology Center has not been promised to come back to the park. We have not gotten an Avenue C bike lane and so forth. This board needs to get on this case and stop diddling around and stop waiting. Thank you.
Tommy. Thank you. Okay, our next and last speaker tonight for public session is Susan Peters. Susan, are you there? Please unmute yourself.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Susan.
Oh, great. Hi, I'm a longtime resident of New York City. 2 years ago, I ordered a basic physics course at Hunter College and began to understand more about the technology of cell phone radiation and antennas and the effect on humans' health. Then I found out that the city of New York had approved all in one shot the installation of 11,500 wireless antennas, 8,200 already installed on our light bulb poles in all 5 boroughs. But the public is not informed of the high levels of radiation coming from the antennas. We have an electrical engineer in our group who works with us. I'll give it a quote. A typical antenna in our public space outputs between 15,000 and 75,000 times more power than is necessary to make a 5-bar cellular connection. News about these health issues from this high-level radiation is kept from the public. There are thousands of peer-reviewed articles over tens of years reporting these health effects. But some governments are fighting back. New Hampshire empowered a commission that came out last December and said, one, the FCC has not exercised due diligence by not setting exposure limits that protect against health effects. Two, schools and public libraries should migrate away from wireless. Hardwire connections do not subject children to microwave radiation. And they also said, signal strength measurements should be collected by independent contractors. None of this is being done today in New York. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you for the information. That concludes tonight's public session.
Oh, excuse me, Alicia, we do have one hand raised.
Okay,
Oh.
let's see. We don't take questions, so what is the hand being raised for?
So never mind. He's lowered his hand.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, now we're going to go on to our elected officials reports. Let's see, are there any elected officials present tonight in the room? Let's see. You have the cover sheet? I do have the cover sheet. Okay. So I'm just going to go down because I don't see anyone. Oh, Senator
Brad is on.
is here. Yes. Okay, so let's start with you, Senator Brad Holman. Unmute yourself. Let's see. Can you unmute him? You're
I can
muted,
ask
Brad.
him.
There I am. Hi, everyone. Good to see everyone. Just wanted to update folks on a few items. My colleague, Caroline, is here. She does such great work, and I wanted to thank her for that. First, wanted to, I think Tommy's got a point about the fact that the East River Coastal Resiliency Project report was so heavily redacted. I was looking at this book called Fair Game. It's about a CIA agent named Valerie Plame Wilson. And it is funny how it's like, this is a CIA operative's book, and you can see how it's been redacted. It reminded me of that. Nevertheless, I'm happy that we worked with the council member and the assembly member to at least get the report, and we're going to take it from there. I'm working, speaking of my colleagues, working with all of them, the borough president, the council member, our assembly member, and Congress members Velasquez and Maloney on COVID testing, free COVID testing, which is going to happen tomorrow and Thursday at Haven Plaza. I hope you can make it from 10 to 3:30. They say everyone should get tested at least once a month. It's open to everyone, no appointments necessary. I'm very proud that on February 2nd, both the Senate and the Assembly passed my legislation to repeal the so-called walking while trans ban that systematically allowed law enforcement to profile and arrest, and in some cases incarcerate folks simply for the way they were dressed, wearing boots, short skirts, tank tops. It was targeted mostly at transgender women of color. That's why this was an important LGBTQ human rights initiative up in Albany. And I want to thank Councilmember Carlina Rivera for her work at the city council level, and Assemblymember Epstein for his support, along with Senator Kavanaugh, in making this happen. Speaking of Senator Kavanaugh, who's an expert on gun safety legislation, on February 10th, after years of effort, I passed my legislation that will ban ghost guns. Ghost guns are untraceable, undetectable firearms that can be assembled in pieces. They can also be downloaded from the internet by three-dimensional printers, and they untraceable. So police have no record of them. They are often trafficked to criminals. There's been an upsurge in their use during COVID-19. You can go online and buy one, which is a really frightening prospect currently. And so my legislation would ban them. It's named after a young man named Jose Webster, who lost his life to gun violence just a few days after his 16th birthday. And we're going to try to get that passed by the full legislature and signed into law. I've been recognizing small businesses in the district for a number of years, but now we have a new award, which we're calling the Empire Award. It's awarded by the state Senate. And I think it's really important that we highlight small businesses. We know they're all struggling. Up to a third of them may be gone by the time the pandemic is over, according to studies. But I want to spotlight those businesses that have maintained themselves during the pandemic, never shut, stayed open. So we highlighted a few of those, including Mikey Cole and Mikey Likes It Ice Cream, and CO Bigelow, the nearly 200-year-old pharmacy in the village, and Madman Espresso, which is over on University Place. And today I wanted to let you know that I passed through committee legislation that I authored called the Pandemic Self-Storage Act, which will create a blanket moratorium on auctions of customers' personal belongings in self-storage companies. Just this week, we learned that a number of folks in our district have lost their personal possessions because they were put to auction, because the owners were unable to pay the storage bills. We need a moratorium on that. Nobody should lose their homes during a pandemic, and no one should also lose their personal possessions in a self-storage facility. And then finally, I have a small but important victory to report. Earlier this month, we were informed by runaway and homeless youth providers that there was a gap in COVID-19 vaccine eligibility guidance. 19-year-olds who were in adult homeless shelters qualified for a vaccine because of their circumstances, but 19-year-olds who were in official runaway homeless and youth shelters were being turned away. So we reached out to the governor. We sent a letter to the New York State Office of Children's and Family Services. They've clarified and fixed the problem. And now those young people who do suffer from a number of comorbidities, like HIV, AIDS, like drug use, and having a number of other health conditions, are now going to be eligible for the vaccine. So thank you very much. Really appreciate all of my colleagues' work, and mostly the work of everyone on the community board.
Thank you, Senator
Thank you.
Horn. It's awesome. Any questions for the senator from our full board members? Only?
Alicia, we have 2 hands raised virtually and 1 raised physically. Richard Robiek has his hand up.
Richard, you can go ahead.
Thanks. Senator, can you comment on the AG's report on the nursing homes? And as part 2 of that, can you tell us what you anticipate the legislature, what kind of action you anticipate the legislature taking concerning that report?
Thank you. Really appreciate that question. Well, my comment is that it was heart-wrenching to read that there were undercounts. I think it was very painful, mostly though, to the families who lost loved ones in nursing homes. The Senate has passed a series of nursing home reforms, including the ratio on for-profit and non-for-profit. and requiring additional safeguards for the operators of nursing homes. I think the long and short of it is we need more transparency around nursing homes, but we also frankly need more information as legislators from the executive. And the Senate is considering a package of reforms along with the Assembly in terms of the governor's emergency powers and how we can get information more quickly to respond and provide effective representation as well as oversight, which is one of our fundamental roles as a separate co-equal branch of government. So reforms are some have been passed on the nursing homes in the Senate. We're looking for action on the Assembly. And next week, I think as early as next week, you're going to see a response in terms of the governor's executive emergency powers and how those might be modified by the legislature to provide us greater oversight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Okay, we had Olympia had her hand up. Olympia, are you still wanting to ask a question?
Yes, thank you. So today there was the economic development budget hearing at New York State, Brad, and I was honored to be in a panel. And there were many of us who testified about commercial rent relief, and we mentioned your Save Our Storefronts bill and Harvest bill. And guess what? It was shocking that when actually a committee member asked the commissioner of the Empire State Development Corporation what was his position and what were they planning to do for commercial rent relief, they had no position, and he claimed that he didn't even know about your bill. So can you please send them an email or something to let them know that there is a great plan out there that you and Harvard have put out and that businesses are supporting and that we needed to pass, please? Thank you. It was shameful, but we did our job.
Thank you, Olympia. Thank you for doing that. I did hear a report of that. And I think it's, we've been working closely with you on trying to get additional funding, which, that's our strategy now, is to get $500 million worth of rent relief for commercial, for small businesses in the budget. And that's what Harvey and I are working on. Thank you for raising that, though.
Thank you, Olympia. Michelle, you had your hand up. Did you not want to say anything now?
Oh, Richard asked my question. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, thank you so much. Any other questions for the senator before we move on? Okay, thank you so much, Senator Horn.
Good to see everyone. Stay safe.
Okay, next. Let me see if there are any other. Oh, our borough president has arrived. Good evening, borough president.
Good evening. Do you want me to speak very quickly, or I didn't know?
Absolutely.
I'll be quick. Thank you so much. So a couple of things. I know that you're always working on Escr, and I just want you to know, no matter where I turn, I'm still trying to get this compost fixed up. I did talk to the commissioner of parks. I'm sure you have also. And I think he's clear that he has to find an alternative space for the 3 years. But I was not able to tell or convince, or, he will be a different administration regarding returning the compost, which is what I would like to see. So I'm just letting you know, I'm very focused on compost and everything. We just love the work that the folks at Carolyn does. I know that we've been trying to work with Jadis Wine Bar and the Forsyth Street MTA construction. And Brian Lewis in our office, and probably with you, is also doing a walkthrough to see if we can help them even more. I know that there's been contractor issues, and I believe that Mount Sinai is helping. So it's an example of everybody working together, trying to solve a problem that may not change the universe, but is incredibly important to the people involved. I do want to thank, we had an absolutely phenomenal meeting with Monsignor Sullivan, who was head of the Catholic Church, the focus on Catholic charities. The big difference between the church itself and Catholic charities, those who don't know. And I think he was delighted, and this is much thanks to the community and to the community board, that we called him about the Spelman Center I know Councilmember Rivera talked about playing basketball there, but he was so happy. And I want to say that there could be ideas coming from the community board as to what you would like to see at the Spelman Center. If he had his brothers, he would make it affordable housing, 100% low income. But that's something to maybe think about. But in the interim, or he wants to know what we want in that building. And I thought it was because usually we get told, no, we can't do this, we can't do that. He was open to everything and anything that involved people who need support. I think we're all looking to open culture programs in the streets. I just want to say, and I've gotten a lot of calls to this effect, and I think you know this, is that as March 1st applications come in, how do you make sure that the artists get paid? Whether it's a musician, an artist, a dancer, a theater, just be sure they get paid. I am very concerned that people think that artists shouldn't just perform. They don't. They need to get paid. And I know you know that, but I want to emphasize it. We had a meeting the other day just trying to get people to apply for the CECs. These, of course, are the school boards. As borough president, I appoint 2. And but everybody else is elected by the parents. Any parent of a public school child can vote. So I just want to let you know that that's coming up and something to focus on. The vaccine. So every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, we have, and some of you may have participated. I know your chair is fabulous, always participating. This, it was a markedly different feeling because in the past, there was no movement. There was no vaccine. You couldn't get a website. Today, we actually heard from New York Presbyterian that they have slots available. I haven't even heard those words in months. So it looks to me like there's a movement in terms of getting people able to quickly get a vaccine. So I'd love to know as time goes on what's going on the Lower East Side. We still need to work at NYCHA. We still need to work in some of the 202, and I know that I received the calls from NYCHA residents during that particular Zoom today, stating the Lower East Side, how many seniors there are that have not had a vaccine. So this is the time to pounce and to make sure that we get what you need on the Lower East Side in terms of underlying conditions and seniors. Just to say, I have not heard those words in a month or a month and a half, and I was just ecstatic because I can't tell you how much time I have spent trying to help people get vaccines. We did publish with the New York Academy of Medicine, Age-Friendly Manhattan. It is in our news today, Monday, and then it'll be again Thursday. It's on our website. And it's just, we actually surveyed 1,000 older Manhattanites about their experiences and what they'd like to see in our city. And I think we're growing and we need to have a much better say about what we need in order to be able to get around our city. I want to just talk about the schools for a minute. I guess we're all concerned. I feel that this schools and the lack of educational opportunities that students have experienced or not experienced is not discussed enough. You hear about the gifted and talented, but you don't hear about the young people who never turned on the device. So I hope that, that's something that you work on with the CEC, because I think that I don't hear the mayor talking about summer school. I hear him talking about, coming back in the fall, but I don't know how people are going to get caught up. I have no idea. And I think that's a big challenge. Finally, I know that people applied for the community board. I hope everybody did who wants to return. I hope there are new applicants. And I know that there are some capital programs that you can still apply for until the 25th. Others that have already, the deadline has gone through, but we will do everything we can to make sure that we pay attention to the suggestions that you make. We don't get a lot of capital money, but we try very hard to allocate it appropriately and along the lines that you wish. And then on the 25th at 6 o'clock, we have a forum on Stand Up Against Street Harassment. It's virtual, it's on our newsletter and on our website, and you're welcome to join us. Governor's Island is not in your district per se, but I know there are residents who love it as much as I do. I'm not crazy about the proposal, so when the ULERP came my way recently, I did say no with conditions. I do think that there needs to be development. I'm not anti-development, but a very large hotel. I don't think needs to be there. And we need to see it. Next, it goes to the City Planning Commission, and then it goes to Councilmember Chin. And even though it's not quote unquote in your area, it's in Board 1. I do think you should, have something to say about it, because there are plenty of Community Board 3 residents who love Governor's Island as much as I do, and it's so close to your community. Thank you very, very much, Board 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President. So I have a few hands for you. Michelle, you were the first one up, and then Mei Lee.
Thanks, Alicia. Thanks, Gail, for being here. If I'm going to be given the opportunity to give feedback on the vaccines, I think that our district has been one of the most impacted in Manhattan, and the state, in conjunction with the city, opened 2 dedicated sites in Brooklyn and Queens that are open only to specific zip codes. I feel like that would be something that'd be really amazing for our area, including like 1002, 10003, 100. Like, I mean, you'll have to be careful maybe about like getting Soho in there if you want to include Chinatown, but the most impacted people, because we have 2 sites on the Lower East Side, but I mean, there's no consideration for residency in this neighborhood, and we have so many seniors and other folks who have difficulty getting the appointments. And I'm going to echo what a caller said to the mayor last week, which is if there could be some sort of sign-up system, like a deli counter, where you pull the number and you just wait, rather than having to constantly refresh. I mean, I've gotten lots of people appointments, but like literally you have to have 7 tabs open and know what kind of information you put into each website. It's really, really difficult. So, that would be my piece of feedback.
I'm only laughing because I spent so much time like you, and we brought this up a million times, Michelle. I don't know if I can bring it up anymore, but I do.
I'm sure you're on top of it.
No, it's just, I get sick even thinking about it. That's when this guy today said, we have vaccines. I was like, oh my goodness. But yes, we are trying to get a Manhattan site too, because Javits is not a Manhattan site. It is a New York State site. And the sites that you mentioned at the hospitals are for anybody. So it's a whole city, basically, or even the whole state. So we do need a Manhattan site, and we need more on the Lower East Side. So we're pushing that really hard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mei Lee.
Hi, good evening. So thanks for giving us all the reports about the vaccines, and my question is also about the vaccine. About a couple of weeks ago, around the Lunar New Year, there were a couple of pop-up sites in Chinatown, so that was good to see, although it was just 1 day each, so went very quickly, and there are many more who still need it. I do have another question about the state site at 125 Worth Street. I suppose that because of some of the closed days, the snow days, some vaccinations might have been postponed to another day because the site wasn't open. And then there was, I heard in news that, like the supplies didn't come through, so that led to a little bottleneck, and maybe people have to be rescheduled. So I know people who have were scheduled there, and then they receive a message to say that they're put, due to the lack of vaccine, they had a definite appointment, and then they receive a message to say that due to a change in supply, they're now put on the waiting list. So what does that mean? Does that mean they're going to be rescheduled, or?
May, I wish I could tell you.
Is that message wrong? Because sometimes, they send out these messages and it's not really what they mean.
I don't know. I'm like Michelle. I've gotten so frustrated by this process that I'm ready to scream. If you have somebody in particular, we can try to figure out what's going on. But I would just say, refresh. I don't know what to tell you.
No, I'm not talking about them. I'm saying they actually have an appointment.
Well, then they should go. I mean, sometimes.
And then they received another text message or email saying, okay, your appointment, due to a change in supply, you're now put on the waiting list instead of the appointment.
I know. I'm aware of it. I don't know what to tell you to do. I mean,
All right.
I would show up. That's what I would do. When in other words, I would know, because right now the supply has been replenished.
Okay.
So, but they don't tell you necessarily. I
Right.
could tell you, made so many challenges about this process. I could be here all night with this.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, it's just awful.
Thank you, May. Next we have Olympia. Can you just hold on? I want to take two people that haven't spoken yet, okay? So I'm going to go to Trevor and then Carlin and then you, okay? In that order. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. My question will be quick, and you touched on it in the beginning of your speech about the seniors, and Michelle touched about the high numbers in zip 10002, highest below 96th Street, I believe, in terms of infections and deaths. So if we're looking for a Manhattan location and they do it by zip codes in Queens and Brooklyn, we need to think about that for Manhattan. I know Harlem is hard hit, but also 1002. But it's more focusing more on the senior buildings, the Section 202s. I know you mentioned they do pop-ups at the NYCHA sites, but there are a number of senior homes which are not NYCHA. And the one I live next to had a number of deaths recently and a massive infection. So I'm just trying to figure out what's the progress being made on these Section 202 buildings, which are essentially nursing homes in a different format.
And there's two things. First of all, your chair, Alicia, mentions this all the time when she's at the task force. And number two, we are pushing hard. What is the city's plan for going door to door? Because some of your seniors can't leave their, most of them can come downstairs, but not all of them. And those that get Meals on Wheels, those trucks have a refrigerator in it. Hello. So they could, after they deliver the food, use that refrigerator for the doses. We're trying hard on that level, Trevor, but I will find out about your senior buildings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. Next, we have Carlin, followed by Olympia.
Hi, Gail. First, I want to thank you for coming here today to support. This may sound stupid, but Governor's Island is considered part of Manhattan?
Yes, it is. It does have a ferry that goes to Brooklyn, but it is 100% Manhattan. Yes.
Oh, we could put a jail there.
Oh, you cannot put a jail there, Carlin.
Why not?
No.
Better than Chinatown.
Okay, that might be true, but it's not put in jail. No. Just so you know. No.
Thank you, Carlin. Olympia.
Thank you. Hi, Gail. So usually I only have praise for you, but today I have a very tough question.
Sure, go ahead.
Something happened on January 27th at the PP meeting that shook me. It was the hearing in which the panel of education rejected the gifted and talented $5 million contract. I was there until 2 a.m. and I testified with 100 other, mainly mothers, but there were some fathers who were there. This is, shameful what is happening. We all know gifted and talented doesn't work. All the kids are gifted and talented. We need to invest in public education for all our kids and not create ways to segregate, Black and Latino folks. And these were the people who were testifying. And the day after the Staten Island appointee was thrown out because of his vote, and an editorial that was basically fascist was published at the Daily News saying that all the panel of education appointees who voted against this contract that we, the public, did not want should have been fired. You should have spoken up. And you're still on time to speak up, because how can we accept appointments on community board and panel of education and CC when this is what we're facing after we vote our conscience?
Well, I know that in the Bloomberg years, as you remember, the panels were fired. And you probably remember that when they didn't vote with the mayor, right? I remember that specifically. In this particular case, the panelists appointed by the mayor voted their conscience, right? And I think supported many of those who were in the audience. I may or may not agree. I happen to think that there is a way like TAG and some of the other schools that do, really, really good G&T that is 100% diverse. That's what I have seen, because I've seen it in some of the schools. I'm not necessarily thinking at the smaller, at the elementary, but I can say I see it sometimes in some of the schools. But, at this point, I don't know what the process is. The mayor has indicated that teachers are going to decide whether or not to select a child, right? That's what I've heard. I don't know how that's going to work, Olympia. So we'll have to see. I mean, you know better than I. You know more about education than I do. But I worry. I am now literally calling all the schools in Manhattan and saying, are you paying attention to what's going on? So somebody has to, because sometimes the principals don't, they don't pay as much attention as I would like them to. I'm not saying in your area, but in other parts of Manhattan. But thank you, because you're so involved in that. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Olympia. I don't see any other hands being raised. All right, thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have a wonderful evening, Gail. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye. Next, I'm going to go back now to our speaker sheet. I mean, I'm not our speaker sheet, but to our elected officials report. I'm going to start back at the top. Okay, I don't see any other electeds online. I see, nope, no one else. May, I'm sorry, not May. Nope, okay. Mayor de Blasio. Anyone from the mayor's office here? No, probably not. Okay. Public advocate, Jamani Williams' office. Anyone from his office? From our public advocate? Nope. Okay, moving on. Comptroller Scott Stringer.
Yes, public advocate, you have Philip Ellison here.
Oh,
He just checked in on the panelists.
public advocate. Okay, I'm sorry. Philip, can you go ahead and unmute yourself? Oh, you're an attendee? Where is he? Where's he at? Where's Philip?
Yes, he's an attendee.
I only see Carolyn in the attendees. Hold on one second.
I don't see him.
No.
He's not there.
Here now.
I just moved him over.
Oh, he's over.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
you
Go ahead,
so
sir.
much.
Go ahead, Philip.
Hey everyone, good to be here. It's been a bit. I've been in different meetings in the community, but of course, doing Manhattan by myself. In this moment, I'm just really glad to take a moment to just share updates and an important invite. So I start with the invite. On March 4th, mark your calendars. I'll be making sure I'm sending this to community boards and electeds, et cetera. Tomorrow is the second State of the People for the Public Advocate's Office for Jamani Williams. And if we do it a little bit differently than the State of the District or State of the City, it's actually really engaging conference. It's going to be from 10 to 7 p.m. Of course, there's no request to attend all day, but there's a really interesting number of plenary sessions in addition to the address by Jamani Williams, where you can talk about the things, if you haven't heard from me, what have you been working on? So just really quickly, just so you have understand, I'm going to post it in here so people can sign up for an RSVP. But some of the sessions I think will interest you, like a new deal for housing, the Green New Deal, thinking nationally and acting locally, thinking about the environment, especially downtown, when you're dealing with climate, the waterfront and climate resiliency. Community empowerment, women rising, think about the voice of women in our city and our politics. Looking at COVID then, now, and later, right? Justice, health equity, and safety team is hosting that. Also looking at redefining public safety, which is one of my comments, but thinking about how do we redefine what our public safety is and have that important conversation since the summer that is like nuanced. And lastly, just think about youth advocacy. I know some people are members of the CEC, and technology innovation, tools for equity. So I just wanted to again invite you March 4th. I'm going to put it in the chat. That's the State of the People. And I just lastly say on that front, it is an opportunity to also to engage and meet some of the dynamic people in our office that you often don't see, the deputy public advocates of those issue areas hosting it, and the community organizers. So it's a way to get more connected to our office. And lastly, just about public safety, the public advocate's office has been thinking about fighting for, so I'll say two things before public safety. Vaccine equity, we thank Borough President for the Manhattan Weekly Task Force. The public advocate's been in the news and media since the beginning, pushing the mayor in regards to the governor, working behind the scenes, calling out the lack of data at certain points of time around this, and then also bringing some of this information to the Department of Justice and believing we need to file a suit to make sure that when it's come to vaccine equity, we've been at a loss, and our communities can't afford that. So really been pushing on vaccine equity, and we know there's other places in Manhattan that also don't have these sites, and I've heard that earlier. And lastly, on public safety is my last comment here, and I'll move forward with the meeting, is that we've also been looking at technology, technology and racism and public safety. Parties that we realize that technology, as we're on Zoom here, undergirds or supplants all facets of our life, entertainment, hiring, our communication. And so we will have a town hall on facial recognition and surveillance, just to begin to have understanding, how does it impact people? What are the concerns here on March 10th? And so I'll make sure you have that to please join us. So we're all learning together through the Public Advocate's Office around technology and racism. We'll have a number of events following that. So I thank you for your time. Please reach out to me. I'll share my information, my number, and my email, and glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Are there any questions for the public advocate? No? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, next we have our comptroller, Luke. Luke, I saw you.
I'm here. Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi, everyone. Luke Wolf from City Controller Scott Stringer's office here. A few updates from our office. The first being around food security. And I do need to give a big shout out to Eric Diaz for his help to our office in putting together some of the policy and report around this. So this month, Comptroller Stringer unveiled a comprehensive food security plan to combat hunger across New York City. The COVID-19 pandemic acutely highlighted food insecurity in New York, and today more than 1.6 million New Yorkers report being unable to afford food, which is 400,000 more than a year ago. The controller's plan would do a number of things. Number one, it would create a $25 million emergency food program specifically targeted to undocumented individuals who have not been able to access the federal program. It would leverage community-based organizations to increase SNAP outreach. It would increase where and how EBT cards are able to be used, and also focus on cultural appropriateness, which is something we've heard about consistently, to make sure that those with any sort of restrictive diet can access the nutrition they need. This month, the controller also put out a plan called Strengthening Public Safety in New York City, which is really a blueprint for transforming policing, enhancing safety, and investing in communities. So there's like 30 recommendations. I'll drop the link in the chat and won't read them all out here. But a few of the big takeaways are: number one, really shifting to create a multi-agency public health focused approach to community safety, and transitioning some responsibilities away from the NYPD to invest in alternative responses. Number two, addressing the near-term spike in crime with proactive strategies in partnership with community. Three, improving discipline, transparency, and civilian oversight of the NYPD. Four, ending the war on drugs and decriminalizing offenses that pose no risk to community safety and reforming parole. And lastly, having some managerial and operational reform of the NYPD. And once again, I invite you to look at the whole report, which I'll put in the chat in a moment. And lastly, two education updates. The first on something called the mid-year adjustment, which is based on how schools get their budget. So schools get their initial budget at the start of the year based on how many students are expected to enroll. We know that during the pandemic, a number of schools have not been able to hit that number due to changes in enrollment, and therefore some schools have to pay back hundreds of thousands of dollars mid-year to the DOE. We wrote a letter to the chancellor asking that they be held harmless this year to make sure that schools don't have to cut their budget when they're just starting to, or when they're already straining to provide so many services for students. And lastly, the controller is calling for more hate crimes and Holocaust education awareness, especially with the rise in hate crimes now. This is something that was supposed to go into place last year. We found it did not. So really making sure we're holding the city and state accountable and making sure that's at the forefront of education as we move forward. So I'll drop some of those updates in the chat as well as my contact information. And thank you all for giving me a few minutes tonight.
Okay, thank you, Luke. I see any questions for the comptroller's office? No. Okay, thank you. Have a good night. Next, we have our Congress member, Nydia Velasquez. Anyone from Nydia's office here?
I don't think so.
Okay. Congress member Carolyn Maloney. Victor, are you here?
I don't think
Yes,
so.
I am.
Okay, there he is.
Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney was joined with local elected officials to applaud the $70 billion in COVID relief expected for New York State, its communities, and families as part of President Biden's American Rescue Plan. quote, "The House drafted packages include rent relief, small business assistance, aid for the MTA, direct payments to families, and extended unemployment assistance. The portion of the package passed out of the Congresswoman's Oversight Committee last Friday provides $350 billion for states, localities, tribes, and territories, $570 million for emergency leave for federal and postal workers, and $117 million for oversight entities to promote transparency and accountability of all federal coronavirus relief funds. With this bill, New York and its localities can expect a total of $23.3 billion in aid, with the state receiving an estimated $12.7 billion in direct aid, and New York City an estimated $5.6 billion. The House of Representatives is expected to vote on the final passage of the American Rescue Plan this week, said Congresswoman Maloney. These and other issues can be found in the Congresswoman's government website, house.gov. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Victor? Okay, none. Thank you so much. Assemblymember Elaine Yu.
Hi there all. This past month, Assemblymember New hosted her annual 2021 budgetary and legislative town hall via Zoom. We were able to bring together a number of policy experts, advocates, and community experts together so we can discuss the issues critical to our district. In particular, that includes senior services, education, and criminal justice reform. And through this dialogue, our office has been looking forward to introducing new proposals so that our state budget is more reflective of our constituents. Yelena has also been focusing on our community in her drafting of multiple budget letters. They impact much of New York State, and in particular, they focus on the 65th Assembly District. In addition to rent arrears, which we are requesting, the Assembly member is also looking for additional emergency capital improvements for NYCHA residences, additional funds for settlement housing programs, and naturally occurring retirement communities, as well as increase in funding to CDFIs for our small businesses. And finally, with State Senator Gustavo Rivera, we hosted a press conference regarding the inequity of COVID-19 vaccine availability and the inaccessibility of critical COVID-19 information for our diverse communities in the city. We partnered with a number of our community members, including the Charles B. Wang Center, the Chinese American Planning Council, and the Hispanic Federation. And in regards to the recent spike of anti-Asian hate crimes in New York, Assemblymember New has presented a statement. Since the arrival of the coronavirus, there has been a 300% spike in hate crimes against Asian Americans. And as we celebrate the Year of the Ox, we wanted to ensure that all New Yorkers can feel welcome and their diversity celebrated. Thank you.
So nice. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Oops, okay. Next we have, oh, any questions? No, okay. Next we have Deborah Glick. I see Charlie. Go ahead, Charlie.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everybody. Charlie Anderson from Assemblymember Deborah Glick's office. As an update for you all this evening, our city and state colleagues who have come before me, the borough president also discussed our joint communal efforts among offices regarding vaccine distribution and rollout and letting know, so I won't repeat myself, just to say that if anyone knows of anyone having issues that is within our district portion of CB3, they can always reach out to our office and we can try our best to connect people as we can, though we are also participating in the task force. And as a totally different matter, last summer, the Assembly member met with a number of small theaters within CB3, Theater for the New City, et cetera, about working through how to deal with the shutdown and how to keep those theaters alive, because theaters are so important to us here in Lower Manhattan. We wanted to alert everybody that the federal government, through the aid package that was passed in late December, through SBA, there is a grant program for shuttered venues. We've written about it in our board report. It will be coming out as well in our e-blast, but we'd encourage folks, if you are associated with one of those shuttered venues, if you might qualify in terms of being able to get a grant, please make sure that you are getting updates, because technically the application period has not opened. However, they will be opening it soon. And so we want folks to be as prepared as possible in terms of getting onto that website so that they can file a application for a grant. If there are any questions, I can take those. If not, look out for our e-blast and board report.
Charlie, there is a question. Hold
Okay.
on 1 second. Let's
Oh,
see
hi,
where
Olympia.
it's coming from. Who is this question coming from?
We have a question from Olympia.
Okay, that's from Olympia. Okay, go ahead, Olympia.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi.
I mean, thank you for mentioning the arts. I wanted to bring your attention to the fact that the Community Board 3, the Arts and Culture Subcommittee, passed a resolution in support of WPA style program.
Yep.
Because beyond the theaters that we have, and by the way, not all of them can qualify for Save Our Stages, but we have a lot of artists and they have been out of work forever and they need to go back to work. And so I wanted to bring to your attention that Harvey Epstein has co-sponsored already the WPA bill introduced in the Assembly by Assembly Member Fahy. And it would be very important and meaningful if you support that, because the artists need it. Like we can have the theaters, but if the artists have changed careers or moved to Detroit that can afford the rents, we're not going to have performances.
Sure. Agree. And thank you for that. And I can take that back. And what I'll do is I'll see if we are on that bill. It's entirely possible. And since I'm not the legislative director, sometimes I miss them. So let me check and I can follow up with you later. Wonderful. Wonderful. Any others?
Nope, Charlie, I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a good night.
You too. We have our Assemblyman Harvey Epstein available. Harvey, are you there? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm actually in Albany, just got out of a conference, so I'm in the car. So I apologize. Yeah, I could turn my camera on, but it'd be really, really dark.
Oh, we see you.
Okay.
I see you anyway. I don't know.
So I just, people know what's going on with it's been a kind of tough couple of weeks because we're talking about the budget. And so the budget's a really big issue. I'm sorry if I missed what other people said because I was in another Zoom, but it looks like we are going to have more information in the next 2 weeks about what the federal money will be. Once we have that information, it'll help us move forward on what our plan will be. I've been pushing revenue. We want long-term revenue. We don't want this one-time shot. We need long sustaining revenue. Olympia was just talking about Pat Fahey's bill. I'm a co-sponsor. I think it's a really good idea. We need to do it. And that's part of why we need revenue. We don't get this Invest in Our New York Coalition revenue. We're never going to get that bill done. I think we have a press conference tomorrow or Thursday on that issue. I remember, Olympia, did you just say it? And so we also have our Save Our Storefronts bill that Brad and I are trying to get done to help our small businesses. I think the most pressing thing I'll talk about is kind of what we've seen around the nursing home issue around the governor. It's clear there's a question about what happened here. It's not unambiguous that he bullied a colleague of mine, Ron Kim, that's clear. But the question is the underlying issues. And I've been calling for hearings on what happened in the nursing home. Was it a cover up? Was it misinformation to the federal government? We know that there's a federal investigation. We just need more information. And that information will help set the direction of what we should be doing. I have some real serious concerns about what the governor did here, and we just need to make sure we know what's happening. Quickly on local fronts, there's some testing sites going on. We have a pop-up with Senator Hoylman, I think people mentioned. We're going to be doing more testing sites. I think we're going to do a pop-up at Reese starting in March. So we want more testing. We did a good vaccination site the other day at Baruch's, one of our senior developments. So we're trying to get this information out, testing and vaccination, and we're trying to move it as quickly as possible. So, I know it's been hard to get appointments for so many people, but I hear you. I'm sorry. If there's anything you need to do, Aura Olivaria, who's my deputy chief of staff, is here all the time. John Blasco, who is my chief of staff, is available. If you need anything, I think our report is it got sent around. I'm happy to take a question if that makes sense, but I know you got a lot, Alicia, on your calendar, so I'm happy to take one if people want me to.
I physically see Richard and then I see Kay Webster. Go ahead, Richard.
Hi, Harvey. Thank you for commenting about the nursing home problem. We raised a question with Brad Hoylman a little earlier in terms of what the legislature should be doing or could be doing. I'm pretty sure that you're aware that the Lower East Side Community Board 3 got hit pretty badly with people being infected and dying. If you could stay in touch with us, please, and let us know what action that you think the legislature is going to take and what you're going to be supporting.
Yeah, so Richard, obviously you know how to reach me. I've known you for a really long time. I think it's really horrific what's happened across the city and the state. And we just need to know whether the immunity law that was pushed into the budget last March on the last minute, which I again voted against because we didn't want to give immunity to for-profit nursing homes as well as nonprofit nursing homes, was a cause of some of this happening. And we just need to know, I'm not making these connections, but I've heard these connections being made that, the governor's gotten a lot of money from the Greater Hospital Association. Was this a pay to play? I don't know. I can't say that it was or it wasn't, but there's a question that we need to answer. That's why we need hearings. We need, he should be admonished for what he did to my colleague, Ron Kim, and to so many others that he's bullied. But the real question on the nursing home is, we have a package of bills that I think we're going to be advancing in the next week with the leadership of our health chair, Dick Godfrey. We will be moving those bills forward and we'd love support on that. And I think we just need hearings on what happened over the last year and what the underlying issues are. And I think if the board would support or call for hearings, that would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Next, Kay. Go ahead, Kay.
Hi, Harvey. Thank you for everything. Yeah, we know that the nursing home lobby wrote the bill, so we're pretty sure that somebody had an influence on the immunity bill. There were other immunity issues that, there were other issues that happened that got passed without buried in that 400-page budget, but I won't do those now. But the governor put forward some version of a reform, and for those of us who've been doing this a while, we don't have any nursing homes anymore. That's not true. We have 2, but
we lost too many. Let's just say that
we lost too many. Just curious your thoughts about that. What the governor put out, because for the first time he's saying caps on profits, which is astonishing. And frankly, just given the number of deaths, I think it's, I don't remember, a quarter or a third in New York State where it happened in nursing homes, given the switching numbers. But, I would love to know, we're desperate. We want visitation. We want the profit gone out of that thing. This is the first time the governor has put something out due to the pressure he's under. And this is politics. So I kind of wonder, and maybe you don't have to answer this now, but your thoughts on what he put forward and what can we get at this moment to assuage what happens in nursing homes and has been happening, as you know, for decades. There is nothing new. COVID fell on Tinder. We lost our infection specialist nursing home. So
I'll say 2 things, Kay, that you and probably everyone else knows, right? We've underfunded healthcare in our state for decades, right? The last decade of the governor's presided on, we've seen severe cuts, not just in, services or nursing homes, but people who wanted to stay at home. He passed, we tried to push the legislation. I have a bill that requires home healthcare attendants who work 24 hours, get paid for 24 hours of care. His Department of Labor said only get paid 13 for 24 hours. It's $1 billion of money we're taking out of people who work with seniors who want to stay at home. So we're pushing people in the nursing homes. We're not paying people sufficient to keep people in their home. And then what we're doing is in those nursing homes, we're pushing profit motivations. I don't want to make all those connections because that's up to either a grand jury or Department of Justice. But I think we need answers to the questions. And I think once we get those answers, we need to then act. This is about revenue again. This is about a governor who believes in austerity budgeting, no matter what the cost. And the cost here has been too high. And that's why we have our Invest in Our New York Coalition, which I hope the community board was continue to support. We need real sources of revenue, so people who can pay. His projections for his budget projections were billions of dollars under what actually happened. He's been holding money from nonprofits who've been laying off staff, but now he's like saying, I'll give them the money now. It is how we go back to the 70s. This austerity budget is how we go back to the 70s. So we really need solutions, including the nursing homes, but including really funding them and funding home health care, funding services in a real way that allows it to happen. So it's sorry, it's a long answer to a short question, but revenue, revenue, revenue.
That was a long answer to a short question, a long question. But I just want to go back to, we had hearings in August that were very comprehensive, that provided about as many answers as you could possibly want, including from the Long-Term Care Coalition, which is probably one of the best in terms of tracking nursing homes. And I agree with the continuum of care. Some people cannot age in place at home. Some families can't handle that. Some housing can't handle that. So I would love to see a comprehensive continuum of care. But I guess what I'm wondering and hoping for is the legislature, even before these hearings, comes up with what's the wish list. I mean, advocates have been putting it out, but I would love to see the legislature come up with what's your wish list based on the hearings in August.
So you heard that the Senate put out their package of bills, a 10 package of healthcare, home care reform bills. I think we're going to have our own package that'll come out. Like I mentioned, Dick Godfrey, who's like the father of all healthcare, is finishing up a package that we talked about today. We were just on Zooms for like 12 hours today. We will get a package soon, and then we will push to vote on that package of bill with under Assemblymember Godfrey's leadership. But I think you're right. The governor, I just mentioned the governor's package doesn't get us there. It doesn't, and it tries to cover up the mistakes that have been made over the past year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go home.
Go to my hotel. I'm in Albany, unfortunately.
For that.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you, Harvey.
Thank you, Alicia. Always good seeing everyone.
Good.
Hope everyone's well. Happy New Year for people who celebrate Chinese New Year. I didn't get to say that earlier. Happy Black History Month, and enjoy, and people really thank you for all you do. I know how important community service is, since I did it for 14 years. So thank you all.
Thank you, Harvey. Stay warm in Albany. Okay, we're going to go back. So we have Senator, is it Brian Kavanaugh? Brian Kavanaugh's office there, Chantel.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Please excuse my colleague in the background. So just to go very quickly, last month, the senator sponsored a bill that creates a maximum limit for the total fee that can be charged to food service establishments. Obviously, this is a good bill to pass right now, given the circumstances for our restaurant industry. So the fee cap is designed to stop delivery companies from making money. It's designed to help restaurants retain their fair share. So COVID-related lockdowns in New York and across the country have greatly increased the leverage these third-party delivery services have over restaurants, and this is designed to level the playing field. Just an update on fair housing. Last month, the Senate Housing Committee and the Investigations Committee and the Consumer Protection Committee issued a 97-page fair housing investigative report, which details the very troubling and apparently widespread discriminatory practices that occurred on Long Island and undoubtedly in other parts of the state. And this month, major legislation that seeks to put an end to widespread discriminatory practices that were detailed in that report was passed. So the bill's advance will implement fair housing practices, implicit bias training, compensatory relief to victims of housing discrimination, create an anti-discrimination housing fund, and increase required training. It is the senator's hope that this legislation and the administrative reforms proposed in the report will usher in a new era of equity and justice. And for those of you waiting for the Rutgers tube repairs to be over, that is coming soon, we are pleased to report that our office has received confirmation from the MTA that the project is set to be completed by the end of March as originally planned. I know that this is welcome news for a lot of everyone in the district. And that's really it. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'll throw my email in the chat box. And as always, I appreciate your patience with my 5-year-old colleague.
Thank you, Chantel. I see that Philip, you have a question for Chantel?
No, not a question. I just wanted to wait to the end. I just had one tomorrow relevant announcement. So whenever the rest of the electeds and so forth are done, I just wanted to make sure I flagged that for everyone.
Oh, okay. All right, no problem. Kay, you had a question for Chantel?
No, I just wanted to say to Chantel, it's always great to watch working mothers.
You know, mom
and
guilt.
thank you.
I feel like the threshold of guilt has gone down, but it's hard to multitask when it's in your ear.
I love it. Okay, let's see. Sorry, we're gonna go back to the sheet. Councilmember Margaret Chin's office.
Hello. Hi, I'm Connor Urban. I'm Councilmember Margaret Chin's Director of Communications, Budget, and Legislation. Thank you so much, Alicia. Good to be here. So I'll start with legislative updates. So Councilmember Chin has chaired several aging hearings on a variety of topics, ranging from investigating the city agency's work to reach immigrant seniors and help them access the vaccine. This was a hearing with the Immigration Committee, asking the Mayor's Office of Immigration Affairs about lack of language access in the city's hotline for vaccines. Currently, it's only available in English and Spanish, and that's unacceptable. We asked the commissioners questions during our hearings. On that same thread, we're also writing a letter to DCAS, and we submitted legislation to establish an office within DCAS to hire local New York City translators. So that would be a language access initiative as well as a workforce initiative. We also co-chaired a hearing with technology about senior access to technology. Right now, there's a really big access gap for older adults in New York City and just across the board. And we have filed a legislation request to require senior buildings to have Wi-Fi. And skipping over some things. So just echoing what a lot of people said about vaccines, been applying a pressure to DFDA and Department of Health very heavily. We've been very vocal about the need to bring vaccines to seniors instead of having them navigate this chaotic system. And we're happy to see the roll out of some pop-out sites at NYCHA, but this still needs to be implemented citywide. And this week, we're chairing a hearing to investigate the administration's plan for outreach and reporting on homebound seniors and how they will get the vaccine to this vulnerable population. Community updates really quickly. So there will be a free e-waste recycling event hosted by Lower East Side Ecology Center and sponsored by our office on March 13th from 10 to 4 at Kinlaw Square. There will be a town hall tomorrow at 6 hosted by the Street Vendor Project about the recently passed legislation introduction 1116 that Margaret was the lead sponsor on. And this is about the historic street vending, food street vending reform for the first time in 40 years. On the 26th, Asian American Federation is hosting a rally against anti-Asian hate and xenophobic attacks. So that's Saturday at 26 Farrell Plaza at 1. And then last but not least, please join us on Thursday at 4 p.m. to celebrate Black History Month. We're honoring 3 community members, including Alicia. And we will also have a brief presentation from the African Burial Ground National Park site. And I will put the Zoom registration for that in the chat. And that's it.
Thank you, Kana. It's nice to see the face behind the name.
You too.
Any questions for our council member? Okay, thank you. Next in, let's see, we have Carlina Rivera. Isabel, I saw you.
Hi, all. Good evening. I will be brief, but thank you so much to everyone who spoke earlier about the many issues that exist and continue to remain challenging around the vaccine rollout. The councilwoman hosted an emergency vaccines hearing on January 14th, and we'll be holding another hearing on March 1st about equity and language access in hospitals during COVID-19. So as we continue to push for more equitable vaccine access, we also wanted to share that we have a local testing site at Grand Street Settlement's 168 Broome Street location. It's open Mondays and Wednesdays. It's a self-swab, it's walk-in, it's free. Anyone above 4 can use it. I'll post it in the chat, but it's good to have more local testing options. And then a quick update around Brissetti Plaza, around public safety and public health concerns in the area. The councilwoman joined Assemblymember Epstein, Susan Stetzer, CB3, residents, and NYCHA representatives to do a walkthrough about the scaffolding, which has been longstanding, and we are working with the Comptroller's Office and NYCHA to hopefully apply capital funding to the facade work. And last but not least, we joined many council colleagues and the Manhattan Borough President in advocating for the opening, the 24/7 opening of the subway. So we will continue to push for that, although we have more hours. Anyway, sorry, that was very long, but thank you so much. Please let me know if you have questions. I'll put my contact information in the chat. Have a good evening.
Isabel, I have a question, not just for you, but also for our other council member, Margaret Chin. I noticed that the mayor is trying to do a spinoff for mental illness, and there's this thing with this separate number to call besides 311 and 911. So I mean, I'd like for someone to talk a little bit about that, because I'm hearing a lot in the news about this initiative that he's trying to start, and I don't know, who he consulted about this, this situation, because I had a hard time with Thrive. So I mean, can you please explain a little bit about it?
Yeah, I don't know if Connor, you want to speak, but I'm not an expert. I want to validate that there has been not a lot of widespread communication from my perspective. From what I understand, that there are some pilot programs happening. The most recent one that was announced was in East Harlem, but we're going to be continuing to push for, services for all New Yorkers that support people who are experiencing mental health crises.
Yeah.
Alicia, are you talking about the New York City Well hotline?
Yeah, so they are doing it on the news, at least. I don't know. It was saying that they're trying to create a whole separate phone number to call when someone is in crisis. And, because 311 often doesn't connect people to the right destination. And when you call, you get put through so much red tape just to get the mobile crisis unit. So I think this is something to do with the mobile crisis unit. I think they're trying to develop a separate phone number to call in response to that, because here's what everyone probably is seeing for themselves is there's a spike in mental health issues, and there's a spike in addiction. And right now, I mean, because of COVID, people are home alone. Lots of people, I don't need to get into all of that, but we just know that there is a crisis in the city right now with mental health. And it's not just people born into whatever, identity they have with mental health issues, but now there are new cases of depression and anxiety. So, yeah, if anyone could just get back to me next month, you can do that, or you
Absolutely.
can, and let me know, and if you know anything about this new program. Thank you so much. Don't want to put you guys on the spot. Thank you. Okay, were there any questions? Anybody else? Oh, and I know, Philip, I wanted to get back to you. You said you had one more thing you needed to say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I did post in the chat our Ban the Scan campaign with Amnesty International about the tech piece. There is a 5-minute video there. So so don't be scared of the tech. We're all learning together. But most importantly, I'm going to repost that tomorrow is the New York City Public Schools hearing for all the CEC or the parents or the advocates of education. It's a forum to provide space for students, families, teachers, and experts around the reality of New York City public schools during COVID and moving forward, as some of the Manhattan Borough President's issues that she mentioned. And so it's from 4 to 8 p.m. And it's testimony that public will feature those folks, where we'll feature the parents, we'll feature the educators, we'll feature the experts from the field of health, education, and safety. And the committee chair on education, Mark Traeger from the city council will be there. Committee chair of the health and council member, Mark Levine, will be there. the Civil Service and Labor Committee Chair, Black Asian Caucus, Latino Caucus, Danique Miller, and Adrian Adams as well, City Councilman Adrian Adams. So it's an opportunity tomorrow. So I'll post that. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to make sure I share that. I didn't want to leave that out.
Okay, Philip, no problem. Appreciate that. That being said, I think this is the conclusion of our elected officials report. Now we're going to move into our roll call and approval of the minutes for December 2020. Let's get it.
David Adams. David Adams.
Yes. Here and yes.
Okay, great. Euron Altman.
Yes.
Jesse Beck.
Yes.
Dominic Berg. Dominic Berg. Lee Berman.
Yes.
Carlin Chan.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Jonathan Chu.
Yes.
David Crane.
Yes.
Felicia Cruikshank. Eric Diaz.
Yes.
Alistair Economakis.
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. Shirley Fennessy, yes. Ryan Gilliam.
Yes.
Deborah Glass. Deborah. Andrea Gordillo. Andrea Gordillo. No. Okay. Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Linda Jones.
Yes.
Valentina Jones.
Yes.
Tatiana Giordio.
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan.
Yes.
Olympia Kazi.
Yes.
Joseph Kearns. Joseph Kearns. Michelle Coopersmith.
Yes.
May Lee. May.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you're here. Wendy Lee.
Yes.
Alicia Lewis Coleman.
Yes.
David Louie.
Yes.
Ellen Liu.
Yes.
Michael Marino.
Yes.
Alexandra Militano. Michael Perlis.
Yes.
Tariq Ramos.
Yes.
Paul Rangel.
Yes.
Damaris Reyes.
Yes.
Richard Rupia. Oh,
Yes.
Damaris, did you have something?
No, I didn't say anything. I just
Oh, okay. I
said
thought you said something additional. All right.
No.
Thomas Rosa.
Yes.
Robin Chattel.
Yes.
Heidi Schmidt.
Yes.
Larissa Shainberg.
Yes.
Anisha Stephen. Anisha.
Yes.
Sandra Stuther.
Yes.
Josephine Velez.
yes.
Troy Velez.
Yes.
Rodney Washington.
Yes.
Kathleen Webster.
If everyone could please mute their microphones if you are not speaking. Thank you.
Kathleen Webster.
Yes.
Jackie Wong.
Yes.
Ricky Wong.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody?
Felicia appears to be in the attendees list.
I'm sorry.
Felicia appears to be in the
Yeah,
attendees list.
I see that. Thank you, Trevor. Yeah.
Felicia, so Felicia, you're here? Yes. Okay.
I promoted her.
Anybody else that I missed?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Shirley.
Mhm.
So really quickly, I want to make sure everyone knows the rules of tonight's special election for the secretary's position for the exec. You should have been emailed your ballot, so please check your inbox, your email, and you should be voting right now at this moment so that Paul can read the information before our meeting is over, and he'll let you know what the results are. Everyone will have to fill out their ballot and submit it, okay? Is there anyone that has questions about how to do the vote? Because this is the same way we did our vote for the full board before.
I didn't get a ballot. I just looked.
Paul, can you see what happened to Valentina's ballot? Valentina, did you check your junk mail as well?
Alicia, what do we do with the ballot? We have it.
You're going to submit, you're going to fill it out, fill out your information and submit it back.
Email it back. Just email it back. Okay.
To the person that sent it, exactly.
Alicia, I'll just jump in really quick. It's a link. Click on the link and it will send right back to me without you having to email it back or anything. Valentina, I'll try to resend it to you right now.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul, for clarification.
I saw a submit another response link. Does that work?
Oh.
Yes, it works.
Well, it's pretty funny. Vote once, vote twice, but vote for Ted Weiss. That's what they told me when I first got to the city.
Oh.
Okay. Now we're getting silly. Okay. So while everyone is voting, I hope you can listen while you vote. I'm going to go on. This shouldn't take that long for you to do. And we're going to go into our board chair's report. So first I want to just say happy blessed Lunar New Year for everyone. Happy year of the ox. I don't know what that means, but on Sunday, I hope I'll find out more about that. Happy end of Black History Month. It's 28 days this month, shorter than last year. Reminder to all our full boards, public members, and elected officials, Sunday is our Zoom Lunar New Year celebration. It is an interactive celebration this year. We are going to be making cranes, some origami, which I really love, and it's very relaxing, by the way. I hope you'll get your paper ready, and you were instructed, I believe Larissa gave you instructions. That's our first vice chair. She should have given you an email, was sent out as a reminder to everyone. So please make sure you show up and have a good time on Sunday at 6 p.m. We're looking forward to it. The Zoom link is there. If you didn't get it, just let us know, and you can shoot me an email or shoot Larissa an email, and then we'll send you another reminder in the link, okay? Let's see. Exec has an opening now that we are doing this election. There's an opening on the executive board for a treasurer. So if you are interested in being a treasurer on our executive board, please email Larissa by March 10th at 5 p.m. That is that's the cutoff time and date, March 10th at 5 p.m. If she gets your nomination, or you can nominate yourself, you can nominate someone else, but please get that to her as soon as possible. I have been meeting with the board chairs individually, and we've been discussing plans of accomplishments, and also moving forward in planning for the new year. And if you're not present at your community committee meetings, you won't know what they're talking about and how you be a part of the process. I'd love for everyone's input, because this is all about the work that we do. I see a hand, I'm sorry. I just want to address this really quickly because it could be a very important question about this. Okay, Sandra, go ahead. You have a question? Sandra, unmute yourself. Sandra?
There we go.
Okay, go ahead, Sandra.
Okay. At the last exec meeting, Susan mentioned on the topic of treasurer. Susan stated that the treasurer actually doesn't have any work to do here at CB3. She also mentioned that other community boards have actually dissolved the position as a result. She also mentioned that you have another, another format or organization that actually does the work. Maybe it's her, whatever, given the work of the treasurer. So I'm wondering if the position is even necessary. Is that something that we should discuss?
Let me answer that directly.
Okay, go ahead, Sandra.
So I didn't say, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I didn't say there was another organization that did the work. What I said was that the position was created before there was a financial management system. The financial management system is the city system run by the finance department that's all online. It audits everything. It has a lot of requirements. It takes 3 people to pay a bill. So that's what I said. So all the work, all the auditing and work is automated. The bylaws actually do call for the treasurer to monitor council member money, but so that is something that can be done. But I think it's fair. People don't understand when they're taking on the job. I just think it's fair, and I don't think we can just get rid of the position. I said one board got rid of the position and others are discussing it. I just thought it was fair that the person know what it actually entails or doesn't entail, so they don't feel awkward about it. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Sandra, does that give you clarity?
It does, but like it just threw me through a loop because you said really there's nothing for them to do, and the bylaws actually gives them something to do. So there's a conflict somewhere. Either we need to change the bylaws to reflect what they actually do, or they need to just keep with the financial management system that they have. But they have to balance, right? They have to, if the position is going to have something to do, it has something to do. So
if I can explain, the bylaws say that has nothing to do with our operating budget. What the bylaws say is, which I mentioned, monitoring discretionary money and also being treasurer of the Friends of CB3, which does need to be done. It is a sort of extra board of function. It is not a CB function. It's the Friends of CB3 function. And those are the 2 things I believe in the bylaw.
Oh, so the treasurer does have stuff to do. That's all I want to make a point of.
I mean, I think anybody that sits on the executive board always has something to do.
They're a member of the executive. Never mind. If whoever becomes a treasurer, we can certainly have discussions on what there is.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, Robin, you had a question?
I just had a comment, and I know I brought this up to you, both to Susan, but when you had mentioned if you don't come to meetings, you don't know what's going on. I just wanted to, for the record, ask that if meetings have to be changed from their normal monthly time, since we're small committees, if there's any way to give us choices, because I missed a meeting because of the holidays, and I had missed January knowing I was going to, but now I'm out 2 meetings. So I just wanted to make that for the record, that we're not so many people that I don't feel like we can't get asked if a change in a date of a committee meeting would work for us or not. So thank you.
If I could say, I set the dates with the committee chairs, so you would have to talk to the committee chairs about that.
Yeah, all I can say is always be in communication with your committee chair. I mean, I think that your committees are being run by wonderful chairpersons, and they are always open to conversation. So always speak to your chairperson.
I'm making this for the record in our big meeting here. I would like this to be noted because I don't know what I don't know. If you guys are changing meetings, you know, unless I call up my chair and say, hey, are we having our meeting this month the same day or not? I don't know what you mean by talk to your committee chair.
Okay.
You have to communicate with the chair. If you want to know about dates before the date is published, you would get that from your committee chair.
Right, but usually the dates are always the same day.
We can have a conversation offline. I don't want to hold up the whole meeting, but we can definitely have it on a side conversation about that. Yeah, thank you so much.
Be on the record because I've been having private conversations about it. I prefer to be
I understand. Thank you so much, Robin. Kay, and then Trevor.
Yeah, I just wanted to echo that because, you know, our chairs are busy. They do a good job. It's not about that. But if it's possible to consult us first or even just hold it on the same night, we probably have a better chance, even if it had to be you know. So I just will add that, and that's all.
Trevor?
Yeah, perhaps Susan, you can give some insight on picking a date, because to go to 11 members and ask them if they're okay would be difficult. For this past month, there was a Lunar New Year, which we sort of caught us. And in terms of planning before exec, there was only one other possible day. That has not happened, except for maybe one other time. We've always had our meetings on the same Thursday, but it's going to happen. And with regards to attendance, we're all going to miss meetings here and there. That's what the attendance requirements are. You're not going to, I mean, you're going to miss a few. So if Susan can explain that we need to have the meeting before exec, and if there are no other days, we don't have much of a choice as to what day to pick it on.
Yes, so there were 2 holidays in that month, and meetings have to be on different days. One, so that members, some members belong to more than one committee, but even more so, we can't have more than one Zoom meeting on a night. So the holidays, other than national holidays or New York State holidays, that we don't meet on were voted by the community board. They're on our website under policies. They are Jewish no work days. Those are days that are specifically designated as no work. And Lunar New Year's Eve. That's the totality of holidays that we have voted on not to meet. And you know, there's very limited. There's a limited number of days. We have Monday through Thursday. They have to be before the exec. They can't have several on one day. And so it's very, very limited. And, you know, we do the best we can.
Yeah, again, thank you. I don't doubt that it's difficult to try to schedule these meetings. I know you all work really hard. I was just, you know, asking that, you know, we be included somehow. I don't think, you know, there's, you know, there are electronic ways to send group emails out where you might say, you know, we have 2 choices of a meeting, or we only have one this month, whatever it might be, but it would just be helpful. That's all. Thank you so much.
I agree, and there was one choice, and that's the choice I gave.
Thank you. Okay, the last thing I wanted to say was, yes, I have been in attendance. Thank you to our Madam Borough President. Why is there so much back reverb? Okay. I want to thank her for inviting me, and she created this platform for us to be informed and discuss openly about the vaccine and the deprivation in our communities of color. Many people on the Lower East Side are still waiting to even get an appointment. Low-income families who don't have access to emails, websites, all of these things, all of these technologies. Many people don't have access to these things, and many of our elders do not know how to operate them. I'm not saying that every elder, because there are those that are really equipped to do this, and they have these wonderful young people in their lives that help them, but there are some elders that don't have loved ones nearby to help them with this process. I mean, look at the children. Even our kids are struggling with technology and getting on Zoom meetings and things like that. So I'm so grateful that I was invited to attend. It's every Tuesday. I do my very best to be there because the meetings are at 3 o'clock promptly. I get off work at exact that time. So it is just an opportunity for us to stay in the conversation of what's going on with these vaccines. Now, if you have any questions that you'd like me to present to our borough president at this vaccine task force, please email me and let me know. And then I will definitely bring it up at the next meeting, which is on a Tuesday. So get to me before Tuesday and I'll be able to share whatever it is that you want me to share at that particular meeting about the vaccine, okay? And that concludes my report for tonight. Also, just wanted to send, no, that's it. That's it. Go ahead, Susan.
Okay, thank you. Gail brought up the open culture. The permitting is starting March 1st. I just wanted to give a little bit more information about that. I believe each council person was able to pick 2 streets. So there are 4 open culture streets in CB3, 11th Street between 2nd and 3rd, 3rd Street between A and B, Norfolk between Rivington and Delancey, and Suffolk between Rivington and Delancey. It is announced that after April, they may look at more streets, but this is what it is to start. They're looking for events to not hold more than 50 people. That's a current, these numbers keep changing and going in the right way. But right now, the state is looking for crowds not larger than 50 people. There is amplified sound, but not if there is a stage or screen. And again, that is for crowd control. And there is going to be there are expedited permitting. They mentioned that the community boards will be involved in some way, but they haven't discussed yet how that will happen. The only other thing I was going to mention was Alicia being honored at Black History Month on Thursday, which Margaret's office already announced. I will send the flyer out to all the board members. You may have it already, but I'll send it again. And if there's no questions, that's my report. Okay. And Alicia's indisposed for a moment. Paul, do you have the election results yet, or is that going to be announced later?
I think I'm missing about 5 people who haven't voted
Okay.
yet. Otherwise, they're pretty much all in. So I'm just waiting for a few more names based on what I heard in the attendance.
Do you want to mention?
Only one person's reached out, and that's been taken care of. So.
You want to mention the names just to give them a heads up, or no?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm
Oh,
trying
okay.
to match it
Okay.
up. But if you haven't voted, there's still time.
Okay. Alicia will now, Alicia's back so she can go to the executive report.
Also, if you're having any difficulty with the ballot, just put a message in the chat and we'll make sure to help you out with that.
Alicia?
Hi, I'm back. Sorry. Okay. We have results yet or no? I'm sorry. Okay. So we're going to move on into our committee reports. SLA.
Thanks, Alicia. All applicants signed their stipulations, and thanks to Sandra for suggesting that I purchase Robert's rules in brief. Hopefully I'll take some pressure off of David at some point. If anyone has any questions, let me know. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Landmarks, Linda?
Oh, sorry, Alicia. Richard did have his hand up for
I didn't see your
SLA.
hand at all.
Oh, it was physically raised.
Okay, go ahead, Richard.
Go.
Richard, are you there?
Richard, you need to unmute.
Hi. In general, and after a couple number of years, I understand how the SLA committee works and the issues you have to deal with. But I'm sort of curious. This month, in item number 4 for 14A Orchard Street, you're recommending that we approve your recommendations for an operator who also previously operated a facility. And at that facility, in your report on that item, you showed 296 complaints for his previous location. The Block Association opposes this item. Your committee put down 11 stipulations. Okay. On the same report, in item number 6, you have a report for 144 Orchard Street with no complaints and being supported, and also 11 stipulations. Other than listing a location that the applicant has been involved with a load of complaints, there should be something that we as a community board can do other than simply notating that. It seems disproportionate that we approve one place with no complaints and approve another place with almost 300 complaints.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Well, so the difference between those two is that the number 4 was for a wine beer license, not an OP license. They had applied for an OP, which is a full on-premise, but we decided to not approve them for that. We decided to approve them for a wine beer, which like generally the SLA at the state level will approve regardless. So that's why we prefer to approve them as with a wine beer with the stipulations that we typically send up with all applicants, with added ones as necessary.
Thank you for the response. I still think that there should be a mechanism for us to, other than simply, like I said, it's almost like a footnote in the committee's recommendation. It deserves more attention than that, because we know that the operator has a previous bunch of problems at his former location. That's all. That's the only point I want to make.
Okay, thanks, Richard. Yeah, and sometimes the community will continue to, go to the state SLA to give them their feelings too. So,
thank you.
Thanks, Richard. David, as a committee member, is there something that you wanted to say about this?
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate to Richard, but for everyone's benefit, a wine beer license is automatic at the SLA. And so this was a big loss for the applicant. The applicant wanted full liquor, and because of the reasons that Richard described, we didn't not grant that. So we went ahead and we approved the wine beer, which we know will be approved, and we sent it up with the stipulations so that it will have the stipulations, so that someday if there are violations of that and they were to reapply again for a full liquor as opposed to wine beer, we would have a basis for being able to evaluate them. So maybe Richard is arguing that we should be saying even stronger things, but it's a pretty strong message to the SLA as well. Like, they approved a wine beer. Anyway, it was a big loss, I will say, for the applicant.
Lisa has her hand up.
I saw it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Should I speak now? Okay. My question is about Parkside Lounge. And I wondered if the committee discussed how the amplification would be arranged on the roof. That is always a major issue, and there was no mention in that resolution about having a sound engineer oversee it, or the board having another opportunity to review it when the applicant goes through the DOB process that's outlined in that, in the resolution. And I was surprised not to see any of that after the long discussion we had last month. So could you respond to give me a little more information on that? Thank you.
Sure. Well, I would always attend the extensively, and we
Are other people hearing Michelle all right? I'm not.
I'm hearing like every other syllable.
I can't hear her either. Yeah, you all of a sudden start.
Okay, my internet is going in and out. I'm not sure I'll be able to respond. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. So I was just saying that you can, everyone has, as I said last month, you can attend the committee meeting where the majority of the discussion occurs. We had a presentation from the applicant with a more detailed soundproofing plan. I also climbed on the roof and saw the setup, and we heard from folks who were going to be directly impacted by that. He has a pretty robust plan. And there won't be any amplification. So we did include in here, the music will not be audible in the surrounding apartments in number 3.
What would be the downside of describing what it is so that he could be held accountable for that soundproofing?
I mean, this is something that we discussed at committee. Again, if you want to bring that up at committee, please do, but we've already heard this twice. We spent a lot of time on this last month. So I'm not saying that there's necessarily a downside, but we didn't do it. And, any obviously suggestions will be taken into account for the future resolutions that we do. So I appreciate the
Could
feedback.
could I add to that?
Sure.
I believe we also asked that they, weren't, if I'm remembering this correctly, that they were going to go into the apartments to make sure, test to make sure it wasn't audible.
I would just like to say, if those things are done, they should really be incorporated into the resolution so that we have some leverage if things don't work out as well as we hope.
Previously, when we've done the sound test, when we have in the resolution, said there, I don't know if it's in this one, but when we say they should do a sound test, that's what the resolution says, because you're not going to know exactly what they're doing until they do the sound test. But the residents have to agree that it's not audible, and that's the bottom line.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Lisa, is that all?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to move on to Landmark.
Landmarks did not meet.
Thank you, Linda. Land use, Jackie?
Yes, so we don't have a result, but we will continue to discuss the City Council's comprehensive plan in March meeting, and we're gonna create a list of comments about the plan in that meeting. And I also wanted to update the board members that CP3 is sponsoring a small property owners resource fair this week, and also a tenants resource fair next week. The flyers have been up on our website and social media, so I'll appreciate it if you can help spread the words. And that's all I have.
Carlin had a question. Go ahead, Carlin.
Yes, Jackie, I understand the DCAS came and gave a very brief update on the status of 70 Mulberry Street, PS 23. I wasn't in on the meeting. Can you fill me up on what they may have said?
Yeah, so I mean, the video, you can go to our CP3 website, the YouTube channel to see the video, the recording. But basically, they are saying that the fence at the site would be removed to give the curb back to the community. And also, they are doing a preservation assessment, and they are still doing that. When the preservation assessment is completed, they will share with the community.
Did they give a timeline on that preservation assessment?
No, they did not. but it's not going to be too long. That's what they said.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie. Jackie, would you like to give a little brief excerpt of what's going to happen on Sunday?
Yeah. We wish the event's gonna be like interactive and fun. We don't want to talk about politics too much at the Lunar New Year party. And we're gonna have several activities. Alicia mentioned before, one activity is gonna be we folding origami cranes together. Because origami cranes is an Asian culture to wish people long life and recovery from illness and injury. We feel like this can symbolize a CB3 to wish all the COVID patients in New York City to get well soon. And Alicia is right, please make sure you bring a really square paper to the party, because we're gonna, like, if this is not really square, you may fold a very ugly crane. So, and also Jonathan, gonna lead because a Museum of Chinese America has launched an online photo archive to show the work of a great Jewish American photographer. His name is Emil Bosian. And Mr. Bosian spent like 2 decades in New York Chinatown and took like 120,000 photos. These photos were donated to MoCA after he passed away. And the photos shows Chinatown in the 70s and 80s. So Jonathan gonna give introduction about this archive, and we will have a chance to see what Chinatown looks like in the old days. And Wendy and Alan are also going to talk about Chinese horoscopes in the year of ox. So we all gonna see like what we can do better in the year of ox. That's all I have.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm looking forward to Sunday. Okay.
So please come.
Next, we have Transportation, Public Safety, and Environment. Paul is busy. Should I come back to you, Paul?
Yeah, could you just come back to me? I'll be ready in about a minute. Thank you.
I'm going to move Paul down. Economic Development, Alicia.
We didn't have any resolutions at Economic Development this month. We continue to listen and explore recovery options for small businesses and a number of stakeholders within the economic development ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Anisha. Sorry, a lot of back sound here. Okay. Anisha, would you like to share anything about the Arts and Culture Subcommittee? What, briefly?
Sure. The Arts and Culture Subcommittee also met in February. That's a subcommittee to economic development. We spent the meeting talking about the future of the committee and brainstorming ideas of structure and agenda priorities, and had a pretty robust conversation about where to go. I think we're planning another month of conversations and planning before some decisions are made about leadership for that subcommittee.
Awesome. Thank you, Anisha. Next, we have Parks and Recreation. Trevor.
Thank you. Alicia, just so you know, you get the echo in the background when your mic is open and when Susan's mic is open. So you're getting that background.
Thank you, Trevor.
We did have one resolution. It had to do with the ESCR signage, or the resiliency signage that they're putting up. Pretty straightforward. We did give comments last month about what we thought would be improvements, and they incorporated some of the improvements. So we'd have a resolution about that. ESCR, which we've been getting monthly updates, they did come in and talk about the value engineering study report, however you want to phrase it. One of the documents is at least 334 pages, which I have not yet been through. And I know the office is not yet finished to give some evaluation of it. But it is a little disturbing that large portions of it are redacted. They did give some reasoning as to the redactions, including including the redaction of names of certain people who were at meetings. but our focus should be more on the actual substance of why they made the decision. We probably have more on this in the next month or so after we have time to really digest that report. Going forward, just a note for those who are following or in the committee, we did have a discussion about improving our meetings, and because we often go very late. Keep in mind that ESCR is a big topic, and we're going to sort of put some of that focus on the other projects and other resiliency in our neighborhood that we, to be honest, have neglected. And often these topics don't go on until 10 o'clock at night, and people are tired and exhausted, and we don't get the same public input. So for next month, and you'll see on the agenda, Pier 36, Pier 42, BMCR, and other open space items are on the agenda. So hopefully we can dedicate a little more time to those topics that we've been neglecting.
Okay.
I see plenty of hands.
There's a lot of hands. Okay.
Here we go.
So let's start with who hasn't spoken yet. And Lisa, I'm sorry, I'm gonna put you last, okay? I apologize. It's just, I want to hear from people that haven't had a chance to speak yet. David Adams, and then Val, and then you, Lisa, okay? In that order. Go ahead, David.
I do want to speak, but I don't, do we need transportation already? Because according to the agenda, we passed it, but I didn't hear it being discussed.
No, sir, we did not. Actually, we.
So I'll come back to transportation. Okay.
Paul is
Sorry.
busy with the election. Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Val?
Has to move fast on transportation.
Yeah, my issue is that I can understand wanting to change or, look at other things. The thing is, it's kind of like to not have ESCR now that they've gotten bids, it's kind of like dropping the ball. It's kind of like, let's do it until it's actually extremely significant, because right now you're talking extreme significant. I think they said, they got the bids on the 8th, and I think they were saying like 2 weeks. So not to follow up on that, it to me is dropping the ball. But I'm okay, but I just think it needs to be said, that's dropping the ball, because that's saying at the significant point when it is very crucial that they do something, that this is when we're going to go look at something else that does not have any kind of deadline right now.
Yeah, I hear that, but for the last 27 months, and actually before that, they've come to the committee every single month and spent at least 2 hours. And a lot of the time, and this comes from the committee recommendations, we spend talking about the same thing and answering the same questions. And a lot of the things that are on the next calendar do have deadlines and we need to discuss. We just need to dedicate some time. They'll be back the following month and any other time there's an issue, but we cannot ignore the other areas of our neighborhood. We get comments about it all the time, and it's very difficult to follow on that. But they have come to the committee for at least the last 2 years, probably more than that, every single month.
Okay,
so
my point is that right now is crucial because they got the bids. That's all I'm saying.
Every point is crucial.
For 5 years, but right now is crucial because they got the bid and they have to, I would think in terms of, I just think that that's how you don't hold people accountable, and that's how people feel like they don't have to be accountable, because when it really matters, you're not holding them accountable because they got the bids and they need to move on them. But if the community board does not push them to move on it, that says something about but next. Okay.
Thank you, Val.
Yeah.
Thank you, Val. Kay, Lisa, and then Olympia. Go ahead.
Yeah, I totally understand trying to democratize what we look at. There are other issues we've spent a long time on. I wonder, and certainly Escr is a big one because it has such a huge impact. And I echo what Valentina said, that this is an interesting period of time. And I know that you as a chair have been very sharp on holding things accountable. But the fact that the reason that the questions keep being the same is because the Parks Department never shows up. So as a community board, I don't know what we can do to get some accountability there. The electeds have tried. I mean, if we're just giving up on that, I think that would be a mistake, but I understand we don't necessarily want to rehash and rehash, but we don't get any accountability. And the landfill question is a very big question. So I guess I would like to know, you know, in terms of what we're looking at, has somebody actually clocked the amount of time we've spent on each issue? Because it isn't just Escr that we've spent a lot of time on. And I would suggest maybe we have a meeting about things like that when more of us could be there, not on the night that a lot of us couldn't. And you're a great chair. I don't need you to answer this. I don't think you need to defend anything because you're a very solid chair, but the community, a good portion of them are pretty bummed out. And I'm trying to, as you have, we're trying to figure out how do we represent interests that, you know, the compost yard thing is citywide. You know, it's a huge environmental issue.
Yeah, and to your point, this is one of the reasons why we wanted to sort of focus on other items, including the compost yard, which we haven't had enough time to focus on because we focus on ESCR. But also Parks does come to some of these meetings. I've been doing, you know, chairing for a few years, and Parks has come at least half of the time that we discussed it. It's not that they don't come, they don't give us the answers we're looking for. There's a difference. And like you said, I'm not exactly sure what more we can do other than writing resolutions and putting pressure on them than sit through a 4-hour meeting when we ask the same question over and over again. I know this is the gig we signed up for, but I also listen to other committee members who have told me, number one, I'm not mean enough, which is interesting, and that we need to focus on other items. So for 1 month, for 30 days, they won't be here. We can access them, we can ask questions, and perhaps when they come back, they'll have some more answers for us other than what we're getting at every single meeting every month, which is exactly the same. And I understand because I ask the same questions, everyone asks the same questions. One of them being, what's going on with the compost yard? Every meeting, and for the last 2.5 years, we don't get an answer, or we get some briefing like they're looking at over 50 locations, including one on the Williamsburg Bridge. But we still need to talk about other things in our neighborhood that have deadlines that we don't spend enough time on. I can assure you that there is nothing, all the items that we discussed over the last 2 years do not add up to ESCR combined, not by any stretch.
Yeah,
not even close.
mean, my park doesn't get, but I think, you know, systemically, this is a pretty big issue, you know.
Right, but I hear stuff about Pier 36, why haven't you put that on the agenda? I hear stuff about PS 142, why don't you put it on the agenda? Why is it on at 9:30 at night? Why don't you talk about Pier 42? So guess what? We're doing that next month. They will be back just like they have been for, I imagine, the next 3 years or 5 years, however long this project takes.
Okay, next we have Lisa and then Olympia.
Yeah, my question is very short. Can any community board member who's interested get a copy of the value engineering / redaction report? I'd be interested in reading it.
Sure, and I don't know where it's at, but I'm sure, in fact, I don't know if the community board can do this, they can put it on the website. I don't know if.
Susan?
I'm sorry, I don't remember. Do I have it?
I don't know if you have it. I know they sent it to us. It's somewhere in one of those emails.
I can send it to you, Susan.
Okay, yes, I will. I think we have a waterfront section, so I will, or would you rather I attach it to your committee agenda, Trevor?
No, we don't have it on the agenda. Put it on the
Okay.
website so everyone can pull it.
Okay, what I'll do is probably find a space in the right-hand column to put it, so it'll be on.
There's 2 reports. One of them is more of a summary and the other one is quite long.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm interested in the full report. Thank you.
Olympia?
Just to say, Lisa, I'm also interested in what you think because it's pretty detailed reading.
Glad to share.
Thank you. So my concern is that this thing of, oh, the meetings are too long is being, brought about very often. And usually it's brought about when we're discussing very contentious issues that a lot of community members want to come and speak about. And I find this very problematic from the leadership of CB3, right? We shouldn't be the people trying to shut down conversation. But it is true that we all, cannot do 8-hour Zoom meetings every day. But I think the best way to address that, Trevor, is by adding a meeting in this situation. So having 2 meetings, the way SLA was doing it, and you can say that the ESCR, you can agree on attendance things. But taking it out right now, even though you are right, unfortunately, this project is going to be in the agenda, you said 3 or 4 years. With this economic crisis, it may be for 10 years. But my concern is, as a project, you can save certain things at the beginning, like this sourcing issue, this lack of information. Like, we should do a resolution about the fact that it is not acceptable that they give us a report that is all black out as if it was a CIA report. I think that we cannot not hear this issue now. It's not the right thing to do. We should find ways for this to happen by adding a meeting, by, if you want to move it at land use or exec or whatever you want to do it. But I think this is, you said that you hear from people that they say you're not mean enough, etc. The majority of us, what we hear is that at CB3, we are not inclusive. And this is, I don't believe we're not inclusive. So we should not be giving them space to say that.
I don't know if you've been to my meetings, but one of the things I do is I let everybody speak. Every single person that raises their hand, I give them an opportunity to speak, which sometimes elongates the meeting. That's one of the reasons why people said I need to cut that out a bit. But I understand the issue of being inclusive and letting people speak. And that's exactly what I do. And I've done it every single meeting that I've ever had, where everyone, especially in person, gets a chance to speak. What we are doing, because we have come to the meetings of the ESCR team for at least 2.5 years, is saying for 1 month, we're going to look at some of the other items, which are just as important, including the other flood mitigation project, also known as BMCR, including Pier 36 and 42, to give them some space. We're not stopping them from coming. They're not going to not return. We just want to focus on some other items. With the issue of having a separate meeting, we did discuss that at committee briefly. We probably need to discuss it with other members because, like Kay mentioned, they weren't at the meeting. That's going to be challenging, but I understand ESCR is a big project. But to be honest, I think we can handle it. I think we can handle it at one meeting if we just manage our agenda items. And that's what I'm attempting to do right now, is manage our agenda items. This is the first time I'm going to try this. We will see how it goes. It is not like they're going away or something's going to happen. We're just going to see if we can manage the time and the agenda items a little more so we can talk about the other issues in our neighborhood which somehow seem to get forgotten or we don't spend enough time on.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor. David had a question. Go ahead, David.
No, yeah, thank you. I'm just saying that they're concerned about the contracts now. If I heard correctly, both contracts came significantly higher than they were planning. So they're going to have to review that for a period of time. So I don't think in the next few weeks they're going to be coming down with to giving out contracts or anything like that. They're going to have to review the details and see why their engineering report was so low.
The contracts won't be here for a while. You're absolutely right, David. They just put out the request. They won't fill that for quite some time.
Okay, I think that was it as far as a show of hands. Just to and honestly, Trevor, in your defense, I just want to say that I think that there is not. It's not that we're trying to move or get away from things in committee. Is that sometimes we spend so much time on one particular topic that we forget that there are other things that we're losing focus on. And by no means, and I want to make this very clear to the public and those that are listening before, Trevor, you get a meme named after you. I want to make it very clear that we're not disregarding anything with the ESCR. We have to continually work on it. It is not complete. There's so many different components of it. So that's not going away. It's just that what Trevor is trying to just say to everyone is just that we do have other things we do have to get done as well. So the work on other projects, it doesn't mean that we're forgetting about the main project that we're dealing with parks right now. So please, just come to the meetings and bear with us as we continue to do various works with other topics, not just ESCR. And I think that's all that Trevor was trying to say. Thank you, Trevor. Now we have Health Human Services, Health Seniors Human Services. May?
Hi, good evening. So our committee does not have any resolutions for you to vote on tonight. However, I do want to just report that the Safe Haven homeless shelter at 100 Orchard Street was back on our agenda this past month, this month. And the service provider was there this time, as well as DHS. So generally the plan is that the long-term plan is, or the hope is to have a safe haven facility. And but before that, before the safe haven facility, to have this other type of facility called stabilization beds, and then move on to the safe haven facility. So the agenda item was about the safe haven facility, and we sent the presenter some specific questions to ask since they were not present at the previous meeting. But when they got to the meeting, they decided they would talk mainly about the stabilization beds instead. So we didn't really, they didn't talk to us much about the safe haven facility, and we still don't have a lot of answers, although we asked a lot of questions. So we will be following up. And just so you know, some of you might know, but maybe you walk past the area, but it hasn't opened yet. They were supposed to open about a week ago, but they have not. So we will follow up as to what's going on. Okay, so just also, so next month, we will have another exciting or interesting agenda item. Representatives from Mount Sinai Beth Israel Hospital will be present at our meeting. They will be giving us updates about the Behavioral Health Center at 45 Rivington Street. And if you walk by there, you'll see the construction is going on. So it's going to be there. So they'll be giving up updates on that hospital, as well as updates on the 14th Street Hospital and the whole main campus. As you have probably heard, they have been rethinking their downtown transformation plan, especially, after the pandemic. Well, not after the pandemic, but after, this whole crisis this past spring. So we will be hearing from them in March. And if you are interested, please come. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, May. I saw some hands. Oh, I see just Kay's hand. Go ahead, Kay.
Yeah, May, does the committee have any thoughts about what Assemblymember Epstein just requested, which was a resolution in support of, there's a lot of things. There's a health equity bill that we could be in support of, but in particular, the hearings.
Well, I didn't hear him say, he just asked for support. He didn't say a resolution. I don't know what he means by that. So we can find out.
Yeah.
And are there hearings, or is he hoping that there are hearings? Maybe we can clarify that later too.
Yeah, they're in a process of, as a conference, figuring out whether or not they're going to challenge and how they're going to challenge the governor on policies. But I think our interest is mostly what do you got for the hospitals and nursing homes, given everything that's happened. I think it would just be being in touch with his office. Yeah.
Well, the committee hasn't talked about it yet.
I'm saying just to know what it is that he's requesting, you could ask and then bring it to the committee.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Generally, whatever our elected officials do in terms of hearings, we always, try to, get people to know about it. But if there's something else more we should be doing, we can talk to him about it and find out what he would think would be helpful coming from a community board. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, exactly.
Olympia?
Thank you. It's not a question, May. I just wanted to make sure, because you didn't announce it, since this is also the committee that deals with education, the people in this community, in our district, will have an opportunity on March 17 to ask questions to the Chancellor about our schools reopening. And so CC1 is hosting the town hall, and this is the forum where if you cannot attend, but you have kids or people in your building have kids, you can submit your questions and the Chancellor will be answering to those. And there is an RSVP also link that I can put in the chat. And this is very important because right now with the pandemic, vaccination, etc., the whole school reopening is very problematic. So please come up and circulate. People need to be speaking up on this.
Okay, thank you. May, you want to respond or no? I don't know.
You're just letting us know about it, right, Olympia?
Yes, I'm just letting everybody know this is like our district. The kids in our CB3 area, we're having an opportunity. The Chancellor will be there.
Okay.
So you can attend the town hall, but if you cannot attend, but you have questions because your kid has learning disabilities or vaccination questions, anything you have a question, this is for our district. So we should be barraging this with questions.
Sure.
He has to answer.
Olympia, thank you so much.
Olympia, thank you very much. I mean, the Chancellor, this is not the first time the Chancellor has had town halls in our district. I mean, they were in person, at a school somewhere. So we didn't necessarily announce it, but I'm glad you announced it.
Okay, thank you, May.
And we're not co-sponsoring it. It's a DOE thing.
Right, it's open to the public. It's open to everyone. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to Paul. I see he's there. What's up, Paul?
I'll start with the transportation update. We did have a joint committee item with May's committee with Human Services in regards to the exonerated 5 installation and exhibit that supporting CB10. We resolved that we will support CB10. I believe the borough president asked all community boards to support CB10 in this, and they brought that to our agenda item as an agenda item in February. There's also the Open Streets Restaurants program resolution that we have there that's quite lengthy. We identified about 18 major issues that have been brought to us either via the town hall or complaints to the office or letters from the community, anything. And we basically put it all into one big giant resolution. I want to thank Susan and Jim for putting a majority of this together based on everything they had heard. And we put a resolution together addressing those 18 problem areas, and eventually we'll start going piece by piece, attacking those 18 items as individual agenda items going forward. I know David Adams had a question earlier, so he can go ahead and ask it, David.
Yeah, hi, Paul. Hi. I looked over that thing you said about the second whereas, and according to the New York Times, Trump never asked for an innocent person to be executed. He said only the guilty party should be executed. So you're saying although they're exonerated, if they're exonerated, he would not have asked for their execution, according to the New York Times. Therefore, that's not a true statement.
You're saying the second whereas?
The second whereas, the New York Times I read an article I looked it up, and it said the president did not ask for these specific people to be executed, only the guilty person. And I read the letter also. He only asked for the person who was guilty to be executed. And if you remember, I don't know if you were here in the 90s, there was like 2,000 murders a year. Crime was very bad. In Alphabet City, people were abandoning buildings rather than being kicked out for gentrification. It was a different time then, and we thought for a strong police presence was not uncommon.
Okay. I know we did use pretty much the bulk of the resolution, and the whereases came from the CB10 resolution.
Well, I looked it up and the New York Times says specifically he did not call for the execution of these 5 people, and I read his letter, and he says the guilty party should be executed because the crime was really out of control at that time.
So would you like us to remove the whereas?
I don't know why if you need it in the first place, to tell you the truth. But I would say yeah, because it's not necessary for what you want to have to happen, and you don't want to have the New York Times saying that you were saying something that's inconsistent with the events that happened in the 1989.
Okay, thank you, David. Hold on. Were you going to answer something else about it since it was a joint item?
Yes. Well, at the time they were presumed to be guilty.
Actually, I also saw an interview with Larry King, and Larry King asked him if he was thinking about those 5 people when he made the statement. And to paraphrase his answer, he said, "I'm not judge or jury. Whoever is guilty is the one I want." In a Larry King interview at that time, he made that statement.
I still say at the time they were presumed to be guilty.
They were, but that's not what he was asking for. I'm not disagreeing with you, and I don't know exactly when things happened. The year that it's like the 14, 15 months for the trial to take place. But he did have in the interim, he had a Larry King interview. He said specifically, "I'm not judge and jury here. I don't know. I'm not saying who committed the crime. Whoever committed that horrific crime should be executed."
Paul, there are 2 hands.
I see him. Michelle and then Lisa. Go ahead.
We had a very detailed presentation from the spearheading folks at CB10. I think we should leave it as is. The committee already voted on it. I don't think anyone has any fond feelings for the person who said that. Maybe some people here do, but I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I think we should just move on.
I'm quoting the New York Times.
I understand that, but okay. I want to. Can we move on? Can we call the question, David? Is that something that we can do here?
I think that there are other people wanting to speak, so thank you. Hold on. Hold that thought. Michelle, hold that thought. Lisa?
Yeah, I'm looking at that same, I think it's the same New York Times article that David is referencing. And in that article, it says that Trump was asked to apologize for what he wrote and he refused to do it. So he was not backing off. And what he asked for was the death penalty to be applied to the defendants, to the people who committed the crime. The people who committed the crime, which at that point he thought were the Central Park 5. And he has never denounced that assumption.
He never,
so
if you have
I'm speaking now, David.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So that he has never backed off of that position, and I would agree with Michelle that we should not change it. Change the resolution.
As I mentioned, there was an interview with Larry King at that time, and he said explicitly, "I am not judge and jury. I don't know who committed the crime, but whoever committed the crime should be executed." So you're putting words in the person's mouth.
David, I need to get to the other people that have their hands up.
I'm not putting words in his mouth. I just read that from the New York Times.
Okay, next person's hand. I think Susan's hand was up, David Crane's hand is up, and Dominic Berg's hand is up. Go ahead, Susan, in that order. Unmute yourself.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify for everyone that all the boards are voting on the same resolution. So whether it's taken out or not, this is the resolution that the borough boards are going to vote on. Yeah. It's 12 boards voting on the exact same resolution.
Okay, David Crane and then Dominic.
Can I just ask a question? Which number is this?
Val, it's on page 8 of the vote sheet. And it's the
joint committee item.
Yeah.
On page 8.
And it's the second whereas at the top of page 8.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, the first whereas on top of page 8. Okay, David Crane and then Dominic.
Yeah, I was here 3 decades ago when this happened. I followed it very closely. And okay, Trump was blowing the dog whistle and all of us could hear it. And we can all hear it today, 3 decades later. So we should not change this resolution. I think actually I probably shouldn't have even spoken. I would suggest that we all just stop talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dominic?
Actually, Susan and David just said exactly. I was going to clarify that we shouldn't be changing it, and then David used the exact same words that I said or was going to say. So I think it's clear what the intent was here of this former president. So, and and up to the 2 weeks before or left office, it's the exact same thing.
Thank you. Lisa, you had something else to say?
No.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to move forward. Go ahead, Paul. You had something else you had to say too.
I see one more.
Oh, Olympia, yes. Is it about this topic?
No, it's about the other resolution on transportation.
Okay, so let Paul go on to that part. Okay, go ahead.
No, she can go ahead and ask this. Go ahead, Olympia.
Thank you. So I have one concern about the social distancing language that you have in your resolution about open restaurants. You mentioned it on the jurisdiction area, and you mentioned it also in the enforcement area. As you know, in our district, we had problem with NYPD showing force in a discriminatory way against people. Right. And that's why I think if we have language about assigning agencies, etc., we should make clear that we do not wish NYPD to be enforcing social distancing, because I think it would be a disaster. And so if your committee has a favorite agency, DCWP, I don't know, something else that you want to suggest, just because I wouldn't want us be seen as a community board that is asking for NYPD intervention here.
I appreciate that comment. What we are going to do, this is just the general first kind of shot at going after the open restaurants and open street restaurant program. So yes, with jurisdiction rules and enforcement, all that stuff, and who we would like as an agency to enforce or anything like that, we're going to start breaking these down into smaller agenda items, or we'll ask for those specific kind of items. And this first one, we didn't go and attack everything piece by piece by piece. We wanted to make sure we put all the major problems that we were trying to address in this first one, and then in future agenda items in the next couple months before September, when this program is going to get, I guess, fully put into law. We will make our recommendations on specifics of jurisdiction, enforcement, and so forth.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
Yeah, Paul.
I got one other report.
Yeah.
So I received, this is in regard to the election of the special election for secretary. I received 41 votes, 36 in favor of Thomas Rosa, 5 abstentions. Congratulations, Thomas.
Congratulations, Thomas. Would you like to say anything?
Congratulations.
Thomas, where are you? I see you there. Are you eating? Okay. Has he ghosted us? This is the new
Should I
language.
tell him abstain one?
Maybe he just stepped away for a second.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. I'm learning some new languages from the young people, ghosting and all this other stuff. Okay. Okay, so yes, congratulations to Thomas. And we look forward to seeing you recording our minutes. I want to encourage everyone, like when you leave a position, I'll talk about it a little more at exec, I guess, but when you leave a position, it's important to kind of help the next person that's entering into the position, it makes sense to kind of be a mentor for a little while until they get, in really comfortable in the position. There's a reason why we have mentors on our community board, and when they're assigned to mentors, it's for you to help them, not just, we can't physically sit beside anyone anymore. So it's important for you to stay connected to that person at least 6 months into the position. I think it's important because there are a lot of people that have come on board who really do still have an issue with how the board functions and so forth and so on. So I don't want to get too deeply into it, but I just think that it's so important for us to continue to mentor our newcomers and even people that are new into their positions. If you are leaving the position, help someone, okay? Now we're gonna have our roll call vote.
David Adams. David Adams.
Where did David go? He was just there.
I have to commute on the computer now. I forgot the star six stuff on it.
There you are.
Transportation item that I commented on, I would abstain. Everything else, yes.
Abstain. Which is the transportation item, the number?
The one, there's no number about it. It's a joint.
Okay.
It's actually item number 1 for transportation. Go ahead.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Yaron Altman.
Yes, present not voting on transportation number 3 and parks number 3. I work for New York City DOT. Thank you.
Wait, hold on. Transportation number.
Sorry, 3. It was 3 on both. So 3 and number
parks.
3 on transportation and 3 on parks. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Jesse Beck.
Yes.
Dominic Berg.
Yes.
Lee Berman.
Yes, except no on SLA item number 4.
No on. Okay. Carlin Chan.
Yes.
Jonathan Chu.
Yes.
David Crane.
Yes.
Felicia Cruikshank.
Yes.
Eric Diaz.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Alistair Economakis.
Yes.
Shirley Fennessy, yes. Ryan Gilliam.
Yes.
Deborah Glass.
Deborah's not
Andrea.
here. Yeah.
Oh, wait, Deborah, is that you?
No, she's not here tonight.
Okay. Andrea Gordillo. Okay. Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Trevor, did I hear you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Linda Jones.
Yes.
Valentina Jones.
Yes. Is this it? Is this the adjourn now?
No,
This is it.
This is the closing vote, Val.
Okay. All right. Good night.
Okay. Tatiana Giordio.
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan.
Yes on everything except the last SLA item on Parkside Lounge. I'm sorry, I can't see the number. It's not coming up clear. My apologies.
So just no or abstain for Parkside?
No.
Okay. Olympia Kazi.
Yes.
Joseph Kearns. Michelle Coopersmith.
Yes.
May Lee.
Yes.
Wendy Lee.
Yes.
Alicia Lewis Coleman.
Yes.
David Louie.
Yes.
Ellen Liu.
Yes.
Michael Marino.
No on SLA number 4, yes on everything else.
Michael, Alexandra Militano. Michael Perlis,
Yes.
Tariq Ramos,
Yes.
Paul Rangel,
Yes.
Damaris Reyes,
Yes.
Richard Robiak,
No on SLA number 4 and on Parkside. Yes on everything else.
Thomas Rosa,
Yes.
Robin Chattel,
Yes.
Heidi Schmidt,
Yes.
Larissa Shainberg,
Yes.
Anisha Stephen,
Yes.
Sandra Strother,
Yes.
Josephine Velez,
Yes.
Troy Velez,
Yes.
Rodney Washington,
She's talking.
Yes.
Private detention center. ICE can't handle the volume detainee.
Kathleen Webster,
Yes, but no on SLA 4 at Parkside.
so no. Jackie Wong,
Yes.
Ricky Wong.
Yes.
Okay, did I miss anybody? Nope, everyone's accounted for? Great. Okay, I've got everyone.
So before we adjourn, I just want to leave you with a quote. Thank you so much, Shirley, for tonight. Very good secretarial. So I just want to leave you with a quote tonight from Martin Luther King in honor of Black History Month. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that. So let's love our community, love one another, and please continue to have a wonderful holiday season. It's still Lunar New Year, and I'll see you all on Sunday on the Zoom. Come with your square paper so we can make our little cranes, okay? See you all on Sunday. Good night, all.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
rest of the week, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye. Congratulations, Thomas. So, yes, congratulations, Thomas.
Happy New Year.